Hello, this is @TeachSmith, and I thought it'd be useful to talk about the unseen poetry section of the exam. That is section C of English Literature, paper 2, looking at one unseen poem and then comparing it in some elements to a second unseen poem. Now I want to start with a kind of top tip. The process I'm going through, or the approach that I'm going through, even though it's based in the unseen poetry section, it can help you with section B, that is comparing poems from the anthology. Now most students I think do power and conflict, but of course this can apply to the love and relationships section as well. So what is the approach I'm talking about? Firstly, read the question carefully. This can apply essentially to all of your questions and all of your GCSEs. What is the focus of the question? Is it about love, hate, anger, disappointment, youth, age, having children, relationships between families, time? What is the focus of the question? Secondly, what can you infer from the title of the poem? There'll be something about the title that is interesting. And remember, not only is this useful for the unseen poetry, the titles of all the power and conflict poems or love and relationships poems, they're all interesting, they all have something to say, and you get all of the titles of all of the poems in your exam. The title is a quotation. So once you have the focus and you've looked at the title, read the poem carefully. What do I mean by relevant and rich? I mean quotations that link to the focus of the question, and I mean quotations that have something interesting about them, interesting keywords or interesting techniques or both. Now, what do you as a reader think, feel or learn from these quotations? And then you link back to the question. How does this link to the question? Then you say, what key words or techniques in the quotations have made you think, feel or learn something? Remember, there will always be key words or interesting words. Not always techniques, but always interesting words. And if there aren't, you need to go back and look at the poem. How do I approach unseen poetry part 2, the comparison question? Some of this process is the same. Again, there will be a focus to the question. Again, there will be a title that you can infer from. You need to read through the second poem. Then you'll just highlight 2 relevant rich quotations that you know you can compare back to the first poem. What do you think, feel or learn? However, it's really important that you don't stop there. You must talk about AO2. Now, what do I mean by AO2? I mean those keywords or techniques. What are the specific choices made by the writers, both writers? If you don't do any AO2, you can't get very good marks at all. AO2 is so important. So remember, it's about keeping it simple. What's the focus of the question? You are not trying to decide everything about this poem. You're not trying to analyze everything about this poem. Look at the title, a few key quotations, and then comparing a couple of key quotations, and always remember for part 2 there must be AO2, keywords and techniques. Now it's very important at this point to reference a couple of people. So firstly, there's GCSE English Revision Pod. Now this is another top tip. Not only do they have excellent podcasts and resources about unseen poetry, they have excellent podcasts and resources for all of the GCSE literature. I can't remember if they do for language, but certainly for literature. That's another top tip, not just for unseen poetry, but for other literature texts as well. And then thank you again also to Helen Victoria for her blog post about unseen poetry. Really useful, really helpful, so thank you very much, Helen. So this is @TeachSmith. I hope this video has been helpful. I'll put some links to other useful videos in the screen here. Please like and please consider subscribing if you found this useful as a video.